What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hopefully, you're enjoying your Monday evening. I hope you guys have had a great start to your work week. We're going to talk about this major winter storm that is going to happen. It's going to impact areas from Texas all the way up to Maine and all the states in between and all the millions of people in between. So there's a lot to discuss in this video. If I don't talk about your specific area right at the dot, stay tuned. I'm going to break down the south central U.S., which covers areas like Texas and surrounding states, then go up to the Ohio Valley, then break down the Northeast with this storm system. So if you guys have not subscribed, hit the subscribe button for me. That goes a long way, guys. It really does. Like the video if you like it. Appreciate all the amazing support. Just hit 22K today. So the growth has been unbelievable. Last day of January, right? And y'all have supported me so well. So I'm so happy and I'm so grateful. Y'all bless me. Y'all seriously have. Hit me up on my social media links over here. It's a great way to stay up to date with the constant information, especially on Twitter and Facebook. And I appreciate y'all. I really do with responding there. So if you guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. Gives me an opportunity to pray for you guys. And I wake up at 3:30 in the morning and I pray and I go over all my comments from the night before. And then I'll read these prayers and I'll sit down and I'll pray over them in my quiet time. So it's not something that I just say. It's something that, I really follow through with, and I pray for you guys, and other people do too, and I believe that. So let's talk about the weather and let's start breaking this down for you guys. So all these counties in the blue, that is winter storm watches, and it covers from areas of Texas all the way up to New York State. And this is basically from the same system. Now, it's kind of two low pressures, right? But it's still pretty much the same system in general, because it's each day is linked. It goes all the way from Tuesday evening all the way to Friday. Got winter storm warnings up for areas of northern Indiana, areas of Illinois, and southern Michigan. You got this one weird county in Illinois that has a winter storm warning. It's really weird. It kind of made me laugh when I pulled this graphic up. But yeah, I've never seen that. Just one county, winter storm warning. All of them, it doesn't matter. All these areas are going to be under winter storm warnings eventually anyways. But let's take a look at the GFS and what's going on as a whole. So I've had a lot of comments to please mention a timestamp, meaning please let us know with each graphic what time frame it is. So I'm going to try to continue to do better with that, guys. It would take an incredible amount of editing. This would basically have to be my full-time job if I was to edit each scene that I went through and told you what time frame it is. So continue to hound me for it in my comments. Continue to remind me to mention the times, and I'm not going to take any offense to it. I don't blame you guys. I would want to know too, but I want to remind you guys the days are up here now. 12Z, 18Z. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people, and one day I'll try to make a video breaking that down for you guys what that means. But this is Wednesday morning. 12Z Wednesday is Wednesday morning, and you already got a ton of frozen precipitation breaking out over Kansas, all-out snowstorm cranking up in Missouri. Snow breaking out over Illinois Wednesday morning. Now, I want to mention, and I'm going to get a little bit closer to these areas in this video. I want to mention, not everybody, like for example, in Missouri, is going to be seeing the same precipitation. Some people are going to be seeing sleet, some freezing rain. Heck, Wednesday morning, it might just be all rain in southern Missouri as the Arctic air continues to plunge in. But we keep going. We're getting into more so Wednesday afternoon, getting into Wednesday evening. And notice the cold air is starting to get down here. And then you have a low pressure that begins to form at the same time. All-out winter storm still cranking up here in the Ohio Valley. And this continues to roll here. We're getting into Thursday morning. Remember, I'm about to get closer to these areas and go over the same time frames for these specific areas. So bear with me. I'm just showing you the storm as a whole and how large it is. We'll freeze the frame here. This is for Thursday morning, February 3rd. This winter storm stretching all the way from Texas to Maine, pretty much, and a swath of heavy snow, a swath of heavy wintry mix, and heavy ice in between. This is covering Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, areas of Pennsylvania, Michigan, the whole 9 yards here, it seems like. Latest GFS really sags the cold air quick, brings freezing rain starting to break out into areas of Tennessee now, brings it very close to central Tennessee. Pretty much starts to cover up the entire state of Kentucky now, brings a wintry mix into West Virginia as we're getting into a Friday morning, and then it ends. It's now trending colder for the I-95 corridor, stretching from maybe Baltimore, heck, even Washington, D.C., northern VA. This is getting into Friday morning of this week, and then you have basically what looks like a freezing rain and sleet, the snow kind of event for these areas as the low pressure finally gets off the coast here. But let's take a closer look at all these areas, right? Latest GFS, and remember, if you're confused of what day we're at, TUE right up here, Tuesday. So this is more so for Tuesday morning as we're getting into 12Z. 12Z, nothing going on. We're getting into late, basically Tuesday evening, getting into the overnight hours, getting into Wednesday morning. Okay, check it out in Missouri. You got sleet, freezing rain to the south, snow breaking out in Missouri. St. Louis, as we're waking up on our Wednesday morning, is potentially all snow, but mixing with sleet or maybe some ice. That system gets on out of here, and then a low pressure cranks up right here, and then you have a corridor of ice that starts to show up in areas of southern Oklahoma as we're getting into our Wednesday evening at this point. This is Wednesday evening still. I know that says THU, but this is still about on Wednesday evening. And like I said, I'll try to break down the OOZ and the 18Z thing to you guys a little bit better when we get a little slower, and I can start to explain that a little bit better. So when I'm showing you these graphics, it's a little easier to explain. But getting into overnight Wednesday into Thursday, this is when it can get dicey for areas like North Texas. You start to get freezing rain breaking out here in the wee hours of the morning. Thursday morning, February 3rd for Dallas-Fort Worth. Might switch to sleet as you're waking up Thursday, and then it switches to maybe a brief period of snow. But, I mean, you freeze it right here. Look how far south the freezing rain's showing up. Watch out San Antonio, Austin, Texas. It doesn't quite get all the way to Houston and places like that. But at the same time, you got, as we're waking up Thursday morning, an all-out ice storm breaking out over central Arkansas, Quad States area. Western Tennessee is starting to get in the mix now. A wintry mess for areas of basically southern Missouri. This is for Thursday morning. And then this keeps going, and then the cold air continues to sag. So this freezing rain threat, as we're getting into Thursday afternoon, as cold air continues to funnel in, starts to break out over southern Arkansas, and then even starts to flirt with areas of Mississippi. And then it starts to move out, and then freezing rain, maybe all the way into Mississippi. Very interesting look here. You look a little bit further, and I'm going to take a look at the totals here in a second, guys. So bear with me. So we're getting into Tuesday afternoon, which is tomorrow. Tuesday evening, we're getting into overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. Snow breaking out over Missouri, Illinois, northern areas of Indiana, southern Michigan. This is the first wave of moisture that kind of funnels up and starts to roll over the shallow Arctic air. And people are wondering, well, why aren't we getting all snow if it's so cold? Well, Arctic air is shallow, right? So it creates, with warm air advection shooting out the Gulf, you got the warm, moist air that rides over this Arctic air. And yes, at the surface, it could be 25 degrees, but aloft, it could be 35 to 40 degrees. That's what we call warm nose. So it melts all the snow, the sleet to rain, and falls the rain at the surface. But at the surface, it could be in the 20s. That's how you get freezing rain. That's how you get ice storms. So a quick breakdown of that. But we're getting into Wednesday morning, heavy snow in areas of Missouri, heavy sleet, maybe areas of south central Missouri. Like I said, there's such a mouthful to cover here, right? There's so many states to talk about. So it's impossible to nail every single city. But Kansas City, all snow. It looks like the heaviest precipitation is definitely to your east. But St. Louis, just an all-out winter storm. It starts out as a mix of everything, then it goes to all snow. This continues to move into Indiana, Illinois, as we're getting into Wednesday afternoon. Heavy snow starting to break out in Detroit. It's starting to inch into the Cleveland area. And then eventually it turns to mostly all snow for areas of central and northern Indiana. And then heavy snow starts to move into areas of Ohio as you get into late Wednesday. But then you look back here and you're thinking, okay, well, is it over? Well, it's not, because you have another low pressure that forms and goes right back over these same areas. And I think the axis of frozen precipitation will be a little further south. And the reason is because the Arctic boundary has sagged south. So the jet stream has sagged south. So these low pressures are riding further south. So we're getting into Thursday morning, which is February 3rd, heavy snow breaking out of the Ohio Valley. But like I said, southern areas of Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, it's going to be a mix of everything. And I know there's a lot of people bummed out for that area. Now, I think y'all could end the snow, but the damage is done. There's a lot of ice. Kentucky, this is for Thursday morning. You got freezing rain for the northern sections of Kentucky, freezing rain getting into the Quad States area. And remember, as we're getting throughout the day, we're getting into early Thursday afternoon at this point, heavy snow. Still, this is such a long duration event, but you got an all-out ice storm that continues for hours on end for areas of Kentucky. It's starting to seep into areas of West Virginia as you're getting into Thursday afternoon. And look at the ice showing up in Tennessee, western Tennessee. You got to watch this. Storm kind of loses some of its steam, loses its moisture, but not before the damage is already done, right? So, you're getting into kind of late Thursday night into overnight Friday, and you have freezing rain breaking out over areas of West Virginia, and then turns to sleet, then maybe ends as snow. But there's just so much to cover with the storm. It really is. It's such a large system covering so many areas. But I mean, check it out here. You have snow breaking out over the interior areas of the Northeast as early as Thursday morning, but then the big time low pressure rides in, and it starts to increase the moisture feed. And, I've had a couple people ask about Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, y'all look to start out as maybe rain, then go into freezing rain, then to sleet, then maybe ending as a brief period of snow. But this is the time frame, this is around, I would say, Thursday evening, February 3rd. Heavy snow in Cleveland, heavy snow in Erie, Pennsylvania, heavy snow breaking out over Buffalo. And then look how close the freezing rain is to areas of like Baltimore, New York City, northern New Jersey, an all-out wintry mix of everything in central PA. I mentioned that areas of Pennsylvania didn't look like the southeast, didn't look like they were going to get anything, but this is the latest Friday morning. This is for Friday morning. You got sleet falling in areas of Boston, freezing rain in New York City. You got freezing rain in northern Virginia. You got freezing rain and a huge chunk of Maryland falling. Cold air continues to follow in, and then freezing rain in Washington, D.C., sleet. And we're getting into for Friday evening as we're kicking off our weekend. And this is just going to be a disruptive system. I have a feeling a lot of people aren't going to be going to work in the Northeast for Friday. But the storm starts to lose its steam, gets off the coast, might end to some light snow for everybody, and then it gets on out of here. But this is the national blend of what is predicted for snowfall totals. This is a very responsible thing to use, especially when you're really far out. But it's printing out overfoot totals for areas getting close to St. Louis. Heck, even Kansas City, well over half a foot. But in central Missouri, well over a foot of snow showing up. Central Indiana, well over a foot showing up. And that's going to be the axis of heavy snow. But, it's really close as far as, I just don't think Dallas is going to see much in the way of snow. I think you're going to see a lot of freezing rain and sleet in Dallas. Northern areas of Texas, a few inches of snow, maybe several inches of snow. And then, I don't think this is going to be a massive event for areas of Kansas, unless you're in eastern Kansas. But in Oklahoma, nothing that y'all can't handle for these areas, just the bitter cold that really follows. But showing a little bit of snow all the way deep into Texas. Now, you look at the ice, it's a much more responsible look. It's just pretty much a glazed or a hard glaze for everybody, maybe a tenth of an inch of an ice at the most for these areas in Texas. But this is the area right in the Quad States that's signifying that high-end threat for significant freezing rain. When you start to see freezing rain accumulations of over a quarter inch on the blend of models, that's a pretty big deal. That means there's a strong signal for an ice storm in the Quad States area. And I'm talking about where the southern end of Illinois, southeastern Missouri, northeastern Arkansas, and areas of western Tennessee and Kentucky all meet right there where the tornado outbreak happened in mid-December last year. Nasty ice storm signal showing up right there. Compare that with the actual GFS. We're not going to compare too many models here, but you compare it with the GFS, kind of the same thing. I mean, it's been pretty consistent in Missouri. Well over a foot of snow for areas like Columbia, Missouri, for example. And then I really think there's going to be an axis of some heavier snow, maybe a half a foot of snow for certain areas of Oklahoma, really close to Oklahoma City. And then some, several inches as possible into areas of west central Texas. We look at the potential ice totals, which are probably going to be well overdone here. But I want to show you this because I really think there's going to be an area. And let me see if I can get this on the move here. I really think there's going to be an area somewhere in southern Oklahoma, southeastern Oklahoma, that's going to get some nasty ice. Well over a quarter to potentially a half an inch of ice. We'll watch that, but I really think there's going to be a nasty ice storm in central Arkansas. And then it's getting very close to areas in western Tennessee. It's something we need to watch out for in the Quad States because there's a high-end signal for a very impactful ice storm situation. A high-end ice storm to me is over a half an inch of ice. That's when you start to lose small trees, large limbs start falling on power lines. You start to lose power in general. Lights out is what we call it in the weather world when you get over a half an inch of ice. That becomes a really big deal here for this storm. We look at a little bit further up northeast into the Ohio Valley, and it's very close to Chicago to being a big-time storm. Big time storm for you. I don't know what you folks in Chicago consider a big time storm. I imagine it's probably over a foot of snow, but just south of Chicago, well over a foot of snow. There's going to just be a corridor of heavy snow stretching from central Missouri through central Illinois, through north central to northern areas of Indiana. And then Ohio is going to be a tricky state. It really is. The northern half of the state's going to get clobbered with heavy, wet snow. And then areas of central to southern Ohio could be more icy mix, especially when you get in the southern areas of Ohio. It could be an all-out ice storm. But Detroit, this is going to be a storm. A lot of big cities are going to get over a foot of snow. I think so. Now, areas like Cleveland could flirt with some ice in the beginning, so it might cut down your snowfall totals. But, big time ice signal showing up here. I know that you're seeing a 17th of an inch, a 19th of an inch. Well, that's not a big deal, but that's a pretty strong signal when you're looking at the blend of models here. That's pretty impressive. It really is. So, this is a large area showing a lot of ice. So we're looking at the GFS. And kind of the same situation. It's not much different than blend of models. GFS is obviously going to always turn up a notch with snowfall accumulations. But like I said, it does a good idea showing you where the axis of heavy snow is going to do. And I think the GFS looks really well showing you where the heaviest snow could be. Now, one thing I'm not showing you is sleet. There's going to be a corridor of sleet between the freezing rain and snow. And someone could get an inch or two of sleet. And I know you're thinking an inch or two of sleet. Well, an inch or two of anything don't really sound that bad. Well, sleet... Let me tell you, for example, here in Columbia, South Carolina, we had 8 hours of sleet straight, heavy sleet, and it only accumulated 2.5 inches. So sleet does not add up fast, but sleet can be really dangerous on the roads. It's just as slick as snow. It just doesn't add up on the trees. But look at this ice showing up in now Kentucky. Now you can cut these totals by probably more than 50%. So anywhere where you're seeing an inch of ice buildup, maybe a half an inch is the more reasonable thing to look at. But you're starting to see ice. Good bit of ice showing up in West Virginia and areas of Pennsylvania, heck, and even areas of Maryland into areas of Virginia. But obviously not a lot of ice up here where most of this area is going to fall snow. Look at the blend of models for the areas of the Northeast. And I tell you what, not really much has changed over the last 24 to 36 hours. It really hasn't. Heavy snow for the interior Northeast. It really is. But this snow is starting to sink a little bit further south. So I got to wonder if this is trending a little bit colder for the Northeast. You really do. As far as ice totals, you folks in the Northeast are probably more accustomed just to all snow, especially interior areas of the Northeast. But there's going to be a decent chance for at least a light glaze or a glaze in general for areas of all these states you see in pink. In these areas, watch out for the big cities of Boston, New York City, heck, Baltimore, areas of Philadelphia. I think y'all could get in some trouble with some icing as we get into Friday. I really do. Compare this with the GFS, and it's a little bit different. This is where it differs right here between the blend of models and the actual GFS. GFS has the axis of heavy snow further south now and actually takes areas like Maine and northern Vermont and New Hampshire out the heaviest snow, and then brings areas like Boston to almost a foot of snow. Y'all just got 2 foot of snow a couple days ago, but you got to watch this trend. You do. Freezing rain would obviously be a little bit further south of where all the crazy snowfalls totals are showing, but now you have some decent ice totals showing up in the Delmarva area. So this is trending a little bit more south for these areas. Pennsylvania, watch out. Pittsburgh, mixture of everything. West Virginia, watch out for an ice storm for you folks. So I'll kind of wrap the video up with this. And I know a lot of people probably aren't watching by now, but I want to continue rolling here. This is through Friday. This is chances of 4 inches of snow. It's pretty much a guarantee for areas like Detroit, areas of northern Indiana, and areas of far northern Ohio and Illinois. Chances of 8 inches of snow. Let's just skip right over 6 inches. Chances of 8 inches of snow. That is basically a 70 to 80% chance in these areas right here, and even outside these areas, you got a 60 to 70% chance of 8 inches of snow through Friday. So yeah, let's just look at 12 inches of snow. That's a foot of snow for these guys, and pretty strong signal. The area in blue right there, in areas of Ohio and southern Michigan, and this small area of Indiana, that is a 40 to 50% chance of a foot of snow. That's a pretty large chance, especially this storm really ain't gonna, well, it starts tomorrow night, so I can't really say that, but that's a pretty significant chance. So let's look at the ice. This is the percent chance of 1/10 of an inch of ice, which is a solid glaze. It's not enough to really do a lot of damage, but that's where you can visibly see the glaze on trees and things like that. But these areas in the bright blue, that's a 70 to 80% chance, and that's that area right there in southeast Oklahoma that I've been talking about. You got to watch out for. Then areas of right here and then the Quad States area. These two areas right here, I'm really watching for the most ice. Even in North Arkansas too. Chances for a 1/4 inch of ice, that's when you start to get into that ice storm criteria. Same situation. It's you got that 40 to 50% chance right here in southeast Oklahoma and then the Quad States areas. This is including southern Illinois, areas of Missouri, Arkansas, and then Kentucky. And then that 1/2 inch of ice is when you just have big time issues. And right here, that's what you worry about. Right there in the Quad States area. So I'll end this by quickly mentioning for us folks in the Southeast, my folks in the Southeast who have patiently waited to the end of this video, there is a signal. There's a signal for the latter half of this coming weekend for some winter weather. And we'll take a look at the latest GFS, gets that first system mountain out the way. And then the moisture from this moves through. And then as we're getting into our Saturday morning, getting into our Sunday morning, another area comes out the Gulf, and you have a little bit of a cold air damming situation setting up here. So if we were to take the GFS as if it's going to happen, Sunday evening, you would have a freezing rain situation, potentially snow situation for Virginia and North Carolina and areas of South Carolina. But the European showed us this today. I don't know what the overnight run's going to show. Who knows? And it's really, you can't get into specifics on this storm this far out. But this is actually for Sunday afternoon. The system actually is showing a cold enough cold air damming scenario where you have light snow breaking out into central areas of South Carolina, North Georgia, ice breaking out over southern areas of South Carolina into areas of east central Georgia, if you will. This gets into areas, and then we get into Sunday evening, and it turns into freezing rain for Columbia. And yeah, it doesn't look like a robust system, but the Euro is much colder. And it's just something we have to watch at this time frame. There's no specifics here. There's been the models have been flirting with something at this time frame for a while now. So we just have to watch it and see what happens here. But I'm interested in this time frame as we get into the second half of this coming weekend. This will be the 4th week in a row for some areas in this area. So it would be insane to track another winter system for the Carolinas. But we'll get more detailed about this in the coming days if it's warranted. But nothing to sound your alarm on right now. But the last thing I'll end with this system is there's a lot of snowpack up here. So what I want to mention is CAD, cold air damming. It would be under-modeled big time because the cold snowpack up here would actually enhance the cold air into the Carolinas. That's a wild card to watch. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and y'all have a great evening.